What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla vs Kong news and updates. We've got some good news in this one. I'm happy with it. The first reviews for Godzilla vs Kong, or more accurately, the first reactions to Godzilla vs Kong are out because the review embargo has yet to lift, but the first reaction embargo lifted. So everybody who's seen the movie can now weigh in on it. As for my first reactions, I thought the movie was I don't know, I didn't see it. They didn't invite me, so I have no clue. So I'm gonna be talking about other people's reactions to this film. And they're pretty positive, which makes me happy. Starting out with some art from Toho23, whose name I don't know how to say it, but I just kind of pretended I knew how to say it. Aminato, maybe. I don't know. They did some Godzilla vs Kong generation art, and it's really, really cool. I love it. I think it's so cool. Not only do you have Godzilla vs Kong, but you have King Kong vs Godzilla, and you have a throwback to the original incarnations of the characters, and you have their creators meeting. That's really touching, and I think that's awesome. That's like, no one's ever done that fan art before, so that's great. Beautiful stuff. Let's get into the reviews. I'm still trying to speed run. The reviews are interesting, starting out with Ricky Valerios. Again, I don't really know how to speak names, so who cares? He says that the movie has 3 rounds of 2 giant titans going head to head. 3 rounds? I only knew of at least 2. I guess we did kind of know that one of them would spill over into daytime, so I guess that counts as a third. And of course, there's probably something else he is referring to with that, but we're not really going to talk about spoilers in this video. He says it's action-packed and demands to be seen on the big screen. That's something you're going to hear a lot. Stephen Wintraub reviewed the movie, saying the human scenes are exactly what you'd expect and are not worth talking about. The disrespect. I hate when people say that. It makes me so frustrated. But anyways, the human stuff is apparently not worth it. Meanwhile, the kaiju stuff is great. The kaiju have great scenes to themselves in which they get to showcase their power. And the third act is pure awesomeness. This is a recommended theater viewing. Our next review comes from John Nguyen, who says the movie is breathtaking and out of this world. It's the best of the monsterverse. Kong is the heart of the story, and the human elements complement the monster adventure very well. Mike Reese reviewed the movie, or Reese, I don't know how to say your name either. I don't know how to say any names. Says the movie flies by and some stuff does feel like it's missing. I have a feeling it's referring to like character development. Says that this movie is not plot heavy like King of the Monsters. This is the first time I have ever heard anybody describe King of the Monsters as plot heavy, saying that the fights are epic and colorful and they have lots of style. There are fun humans in this film and the villain is a lot of fun as well. This is a huge step up from the last movie and is a top tier theme park simulator, which is apparently the highest compliment of this guy can bestow. I will say I never really understood the idea that movies are like theme park rides until I watched Godzilla King of the Monsters in a ScreenX theater, and then when you're immersed in it, oh boy, does it sure feel like a theme park ride. So I think that'll be cool. I'm all for that. He also says that this movie is a must-see in theaters and will leave people wanting more from the Monsterverse. That's another thing you're going to hear quite a bit, is that people want more after this. Hopefully the studio listens and gives us more. Eric Davis reviewed the film, stating that it is a grade A movie with fantastic monster fights and design. It's got a solid story and a good cast with a good score. This is the best of the Monsterverse according to him, and it's a big step up from King of the Monsters with a better story and clearer fight sequences. A lot of these reviewers didn't really like King of the Monsters, and they note that they think that this movie is a huge step up from King of the Monsters, a film which they weren't really sold on. He also had a pretty solid order for the Monsterverse films, ranking Godzilla vs Kong as number 1, coming behind it as Kong Skull Island, Godzilla 2014, and then King of the Monsters. It's actually my exact list, minus the fact that I haven't seen Godzilla vs Kong, so who knows where that goes. He also says it is, guess it, a must-see theatrical viewing. Brandon Davis reviews the movie, stating that it's awesome in IMAX, of course. Says it's like a Fast and Furious movie with giant monsters, which under normal circumstances would have me freaked out, but I'm keeping an open mind for once. I want to see this movie and I want it to be great, so I'm just gonna let all of my preconceived notions fall to the side. This movie can be whatever it wants to be, and I'll hopefully enjoy it. Grace Randolph reviewed the movie with the most wacky review I've ever heard, saying that it's a hilarious movie, the fight between them is like a bar fight, and that it's apparently gorgeous with great VFX and intricate world building. She then goes on to say that she thinks the movie spent more time with the human characters than she was expecting. She is the only person on the entirety of the world who has said up to this point that Godzilla vs Kong spends too much time with the humans. Nobody else has said that. that. In fact, the general consensus is the exact opposite of that, but we'll talk about that in a second. Toho Kingdom came in and reviewed the movie. Chris from Toho Kingdom. I don't want to say exactly what he said because there are some spoilers in what he talks about. So I will say I've got his review linked down below. If you want to go check it out, and then you can see for yourself. I'm gonna sum up what he says, and I won't spoil anything. The only thing that I will state that he confirmed is that there is no Ifukube music in this movie. So a lot of people really had this weird theory that the Godzilla theme that was released isn't actually Godzilla's theme, and that the Ifukube music is gonna chime in at some point, which would have been fantastic because Godzilla's theme in this movie sucks. But you know what? It's not gonna happen. There's no Ifukube music, and so I'm glad that he let people know to not get their hopes up for it, which kills me. That's so sad. I'll have another video that I've already recorded in the past coming out at some point in which I talk about my thoughts on Godzilla and Kong's themes for the movie and Ifukube in general and all that stuff. So whenever that goes up, you'll hear my thoughts. He also says that there's no post-credit scene, but that doesn't ruin anything. It doesn't conclude the MonsterVerse just because there's no post-credit scene. I just think it's because they didn't know if they were going to be able to make more. They didn't know based on King of the Monsters reception, so why would you put a post-credit scene in there? And then now, just based on general interest, it seems like we would probably get a sequel to Godzilla vs Kong, which I'm all for. Hopefully the movie does well at the box office. And then finally, I will say that he kind of says that theories should not be relied on. He does explicitly state some theories which are not true. I'm not going to say that here, but he says basically don't cling on to your theories WandaVision style, where many fans were disappointed in WandaVision because it didn't conform to their theories. Don't do that with Godzilla vs Kong. The movie probably isn't going in the exact direction you think it's going to go, and so don't cling on to your theories, which is a good thing to let people know. He then says it's a popcorn flick with a fast pace and huge leaps in logic. He says if you're one of those people like me who just loves logic and really wants movies to cling to realism, that this is going to be a movie that drives us crazy. Again, trying to keep an open mind here. I've heard that the movie's basically an 80s action movie, and so I'm going into it with the mindset that this is just a giant 80s action movie, and that is hopefully what I will need to go into the mindset with to let go of all my preconceived notions of realism and logic and everything else that I love so much. He says this movie is all about fun. It puts fun first and foremost. It can stand on its own and does not rely too heavily on reoccurring elements from previous movies. The fights are spectacular and the choreography is top notch. The movie is a King Kong movie with Kong as the heart and focus, and there is a King Kong escapes nod at one point. Godzilla causes trouble, but he isn't the main focus of the film. He does have a lot of screen time and is finally seen doing things during the day, but he isn't at the center of the story. The soundtrack, according to this review, is pretty good, and the movie leaves the door open for more MonsterVerse films in the future and feels like the conclusion of the beginning. Things are just getting started. This is like arc 1 of the manga, right? You know, we're getting into the good stuff now. I like to think anyways. The general consensus for this movie is that it's the best of the MonsterVerse so far, with insane action, beautiful visuals, great visual effects. Kong and Godzilla themselves are fantastic. The color palette's amazing. It's got a really crazy, fun, action-packed story. Fun is the word of the day. Everybody's calling this movie fun and a must-see in theaters. Leaves the door open for more MonsterVerse, but does feel like it concludes this chapter in the saga. It's Kong's film. While Godzilla has a lot to do, he's not the lead character. Kong is. The humans remain the issue with the movie. They're not yet achieving the balance that people want, and so that's where we're currently sitting. As for the last piece of that, I have a lot to say. I'm just gonna blast through something I tweeted out because I've already put my thoughts out there, so let me just read my own words to you guys. In response to these, I tweeted out that people will never be satisfied with the human plot in a kaiju film. The characters will always be too dull and bad and underdeveloped. Kaiju films with amazing human stories will always be criticized, as they have been in the past, and there's either too much or too little of the human characters, and so it's always going to be boring or a problem, and it will never ever satisfy people. When a kaiju movie focuses too much on the humans, people complain. They always say things like, they're taking away from what we're really here for. It doesn't matter if the character's part of an ensemble cast or if it's a lead hero. People will always be upset that the characters weren't complex enough and weren't developed enough, or they'll complain that the characters took up too much time. When the humans are just there for the ride, people still find a way to complain about the lack of development, despite the fact that the characters are still often developed. They're not developed enough. And even when they are developed a lot, then people complain about the fact that they're getting in the way. They aren't satisfied with the characters not getting proper time, but they also aren't satisfied with the characters getting in the way of the monster stuff. The kaiju stuff will always be weighed down by the human characters in the eyes of people, and then if you cut the human characters out, nobody's gonna care about the movie, period, because it's not got anything for them to relate to. Even in the MonsterVerse, Godzilla 2014 is said to have spent way too much time with the characters. We needed more monster stuff, and of course he would bust in. We need more monster stuff. That's what we're here for, right? Meanwhile, King of the Monsters spent way too much time with the monster stuff. We need more human drama. We want the characters to have more development. People argue that if the characters were better written, then everything would be solved, but the characters are never going to be well enough written. Even when they're given proper development, they suddenly get in the way because that's not what we're here for, remember? It's still just too dull. At the end of the day, people will never be satisfied or happy with the human elements in a kaiju film because that's not what they're here for. The kaiju are supposed to be the main event, and so the human stuff will always seem problematic. No film has struck the proper balance people want it to. Even some of the best of the genre that is like universally praised as this is the movie that's great, people will still complain about the fact that the humans take up too much time and the kaiju don't have enough to do. Also, again, for the record, I've got no idea how Godzilla vs Kong plays out. I've never seen the movie. The human story could suck, but I don't know. The point is, no one will ever be satisfied with it regardless of how it turns out. The reactions were always going to be negative towards the human plot. It's just simply inevitable. This was always going to happen. I, for one, am a huge fan of human stories in kaiju films. That's what gives the movie weight. Without a good human story, there's no stakes and there's not enough connection to the monster plot. I just wish more people would open up to the types of stories being told, because you can look throughout Godzilla franchise history, every type of human story has been told. We've got police, reporters, secret agents, ordinary people, scientists. We've had action movies, adventures, comedy, romance, drama. We've even had a musical. Nothing will ever satisfy people. They will always find a way to complain because it's not what they want. I truly believe that kaiju films and the Godzilla franchise in particular are destined to never live up to general audiences' expectations because they don't know what they want. They think they do, but they don't. They want two different things at the same time, and so they're never ever going to be happy simply because they view them as monster movies rather than movies. If they viewed these the same way that people view superhero movies, I don't think people would be complaining about a film like King of the Monsters. I think they'd be like, that was really cool. But they view it as a monster movie, therefore they're like, we're here for the monsters, but the humans suck because it's a monster movie and they get in the way. The human characters in Godzilla King of the Monsters are like the same thing as most superhero movies, and people still have a problem with it here when they don't normally. I don't know, that's just my take on the matter. Maybe I'm just completely out of balance here and I'm way too blinded by my love for the kaiju genre. I don't think I am. I think I'm being honest, and I don't think people know what they want. They will never know what they want because they don't want anything. They don't know. Maybe the kaiju genre is just never going to be mainstream because of that. I don't have the answer. No one does, apparently. There's no right way to do it. Point is, Godzilla vs Kong had some really good reviews. People are really happy with the movie. Even people who didn't like King of the Monsters are like, hey, it's pretty good. That's good news. Something to be happy about. Thank you for everybody who supports the channel. I really appreciate it. Especially thank you to my patrons on Patreon. You guys are awesome. For those of you who like and subscribe, remember that you guys are the real heroes. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man, out. What? You never watched my 66 years of Godzilla tribute? You know it's posted, right? I'm not supposed to give my opinion, but go check it out. And then you can tell me if you like it or not.